I think a lot of times in women's sports, people have a tendency to just say it's the right thing to do. And yes, it is. It's the right thing to do. But you can do good and do really good business at the same damn time.
Now on the Epicenter of Women's Sports podcast with Karina LeBlanc, one of the most powerful voices in global sports leadership and marketing.
Women fans will tell you exactly what they want. I am surprised by how many people still don't listen to them.
Wasserman executive Elizabeth Lindsey explains why now is the time for brands to invest in female athletes.
That we insist upon evaluating women's sports against the same metrics of men's sports. I actually don't care if there are fewer viewers, if the higher percentage of them are engaging and acting and buying my sponsors' products and all that, which women's sports bears out every time.
I am so excited is an understatement because I know I'm going to learn in this conversation. And I think you will too, because Elizabeth is the global president of the brands and properties at Wasserman. And if you don't know what Wasserman is, they're like one of the biggest global agencies that represents athletes, builds sports marketing campaigns for brands, and drives the growth of sports, entertainment, and culture globally. Today, we're going to get into the business of women's sports, from the fandom and learning about our fans, because Wasserman has done research like nobody else. We're going to be talking about leadership insights because Elizabeth Lindsey's been doing this for decades. It's going to be insights with data and research, and it's going to be different from what you're used to. So today, I'm so pumped to be here with the great Elizabeth Lindsey, because honestly, I remember my first conversation and meeting you. It was during the pandemic. It was the collective. You'd started this group of bringing women together where we showed up for each other. We had real conversations. We just got real and raw during COVID, which most people just needed.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to be in a group chat with you. And within the first 3 seconds, I was in awe. Because it's not just what you've done, it's who you are, how you show up for women, how you are so invested in the women's sports and just invested in people. So, thank you for saying yes to this. Thank you for being here. I think one of the biggest things I wanted to start this off is just getting real of like a moment in life that defined you so that we can just kind of have people understand not your title, but who Elizabeth Lindsey is and how she got here to be where she is today.
Girl, it's too early for that. Especially after the 18 innings from our friends at the Dodgers last night. A moment in life that defined me, personally or professionally?
Let's go both.
Oh, you're going to get real. You know what? I'll start personally. Look, there's a great line in a book that I love that says it's never too late to have a happy childhood, which I adore. We've all had these seminal moments from our lives and growing up, and I'm not immune from that. My parents got divorced really young, and I can remember as a really young girl looking at that and thinking my mother looked scared, like about her future, about her kids, and she'd meant to be a stay-at-home mom. That's all she wanted to do, and that was taken away from her. And I remember she looked scared, and I can remember vividly. She did great. She's amazing. But I remember vividly thinking, I'm never going to be in that situation. I'm never going to not be able to take care of myself and wonder how I'm going to take care of those around me. And that was a very, very powerful moment for me, very young. I think I was like 11.
Wow. 11-year-old Elizabeth. And you literally have been taking care of other people since. Okay,
professionally. I think I tell people all the time, the greatest thing that ever happened to me is I got my ass kicked on a deal one. Like, I love that Michael Jordan point of view where he says, I have failed again and again and again and again, and this is why I win. Like, I love that mentality. The most seminal moment that ever happened to me professionally is I lost a deal negotiation on behalf of one of my biggest clients, and it was a profound loss. It wasn't my fault. There are some people being a little shady, if I'm being honest. But I remember having to tell my client and saying, this is not going to happen for you, and having to tell the team, this is not going to happen for you. And it was horrible. And I remember I walked out of the conference room into the bathroom in our office, which was outside. So it was not inside our office wall. So there's like a bunch of people I didn't know in there. And I just sat on the floor and cried. I felt that so profoundly. And I never apologize. People always say you shouldn't tell people weakness and emotional and all that. People don't have a problem with emotion in business. They have a problem with women's emotion in business,
Mm.
which is not the anger and the frustration. It's the caring and the crying. So when I cry, it just means I care. And I'm never going to apologize for that. I cared. And I felt bad that I lost that in that moment. But I sat there for like 30 minutes and sort of lost it. And then got up and walked back into the room and said, okay, what are we going to do now? Where do we go now?
Yeah.
And here's how we're going to go around this problem. And here's how we're going to orchestrate a different deal. And here's how we're going to make sure our client still wins in this very challenging moment. And it works. It
Oh.
very much worked. And it turned out, everything I believe in karmic reality and everything happens for a reason. And it actually worked better for them. And it put them in a better situation with their business and brand challenge at the moment. And I talk about that a lot with people. I think it's as important to talk about the losses as it is to talk about the wins, because the losses teach you more. And
Oh.
what it taught us in that moment was a bit of resiliency, that there's always a way. In our industry, there's always a way.
I love that. I don't even think it's just your industry, because I think if I go back to myself as an athlete, our greatest losses ended up leading us to our greatest successes. And then in life, like, you went as a human being, when you go through your hardest moments, like you said, you collect yourself, you figure out, what am I meant to learn from it? And you move forward into your greatest successes. And I think that's why you are who you are today. So thank you for sharing
Yeah,
that.
it's good.
You've done so many things, from like working like 18 years at Wasserman, right? And
Technically longer, actually, because I worked at OnSport before, which was Casey was a part of in the early days, and then we split up and then he bought us back. So I've been essentially in this role for close to 24 or 25 years.
because you did the golf strategy at American Express
I
Golf
did all of
Strategy,
American
right?
Express's strategies for a while. They were still my baby to this day.
And then you did Formula One, the Williams sisters, broadcast and journalism, mass communication at UNC, like all these different big time things. How did that lead you to where you are today?
Well, a lot of it was go with the flow, which is really interesting. I say this when I go speak at college campuses in particular. Like, I went to college to be a pharmacist. If you look at my high school yearbook, it says was planning to study pharmacy at UNC. Like, it took like about one session of organic chemistry. I was like, "This is not for me. This is not for me." And I went into journalism. Journalism is lovely. I love this as a degree because it actually teaches you to question. You
Mhm.
question and you learn something new every day. Like, you get assigned something, you have to go research it. You have to find everything that's ever been written about it. You have to find people who are willing to talk to you about it. You have to find people who are willing to talk to you about the important stuff that's not written down, and you have to get them to
Mhm.
trust you. Then you have to
Mhm.
synthesize that into something that is
Mhm.
succinct and consumable. You have to do it on the deadline perfectly with no typos, which is my problem, and get up the next day and do it again. And that's a very valuable skill set, for what we do, because I don't know every single sport in the world. I know a lot of them, but if a client
Yeah.
comes to me and says, "Today I'd like to invest in Taiwanese dragon boat racing," which is probably a bad example because I actually understand that sport. But when they give you something random, you have to be prepared to to, um, to figure it out, and everything's figure outable. And so that is where my career sort of led me, and I tell the college kids, we're all type A's. I know you were type A. I'm pretty sure you graduated from college with a spreadsheet that said, "Here are my life goals and when I intend to hit them." I did. And
Mhm.
I had a certain, and it was all the stuff that doesn't matter. I had a certain salary I wanted by a certain age. I had a certain title I wanted by a certain age. I had a certain
Yeah.
leadership skill set I want. I had all these things. And my life in this industry unfolded the minute I let that go. Like,
Wow.
I got offered a promotion when I was working on the corporate side, and it would have been the money and the title I wanted about 5 years in advance of my schedule,
Yeah.
but I didn't like the subject matter.
Mhm.
And the subject matter of the job, like taking a job that you didn't think you would enjoy for money and a title, felt like bad karma to me. And so I said no. And if you turn down a job in corporate America that gives the promotion and a raise, they look at you like you have 12 heads. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. It doesn't sound like it doesn't sound fun. I don't want to do it. And, I was working in PR, and the job they offered me was analyst relations, and I absolutely did not wanna do that. So I turned it down, and 5 days after I turned it down, I didn't know sports marketing was a thing. 5 days after I turned it down, I got assigned the press tour work for my company's brand new sponsor with Williams Formula One. And they
Wow.
assigned me to do the PR for it. And at the end of doing the PR for it, they were like, well, know it better than anybody. Can you stay on and project manage this relationship? I'm like, yeah, sure. And that one decision to turn down a raise and a promotion is what put me in the seat that I'm in today.
Wow. I think you know this, but anybody at home, if you're listening, you can't see me cheesing. I'm smiling a big smile because I think I learn from you all the
Oh,
time,
you're so
right?
sweet.
This is a woman where like you're talking and it's similar to me. Like I never had a plan to be a general manager or president.
Yeah.
I never had to plan for this position, but it's almost like going with the flow. And we kind of talked about this, but I love asking the question, what are you learning
Hmm.
right now? Because when we dive into that, it's a little bit of like you said, like, I don't want to give the answer, but answer the question because I'm already going where you've gone.
Well, this is a lesson learned. Don't chit chat before the interview starts because we'll give this wonderful woman ideas to ask you big, heady questions. No, what I'm learning right now, I started out, we've had a very good, but busy 4 or 5 years at Wasserman. A lot of growth, a lot of change, a lot of going through what we all went through with the pandemic and the great resignation after and the tech bubble burst that happened and we've all gone through that over the last couple of years. We, on top of that, also added big acquisitions during that time. I restructured my entire creative team globally. I rebranded, repositioned. Like I had a lot of stuff going on the last few years. Why I thought that made sense to do all at once was ill admitted. I look back on that one.
You're being a woman.
Oh, what was I thinking? Woo. But when I got up this year, into last year, I have to go in front of the board and I present these are my goals for the following year. And I presented the first box, not a lot of bullets, nothing in the first box, just said normalcy. I just want a normal year. And they said to me, well, you can't do that. Watch me, actually. But they're like, you can't do that. You don't, what happens if, what happens if you win a big client? What happens if you lose a big client? What happens if, they rattled off all these what ifs? And I'm like, all that's normal.
Yeah.
Like, that's normal. And we know how to stay calm and control the chaos. I know how to do that. That's normal. What I meant was I wanted to just be on that normal path without all the self-inflicted wounds that I was giving myself. Like, I'm also going to rebrand and I'm also going to reorg and I'm also going to this. I wanted a year where we just kept our head down and looked at where we were going and got the job done. And we talk about something inside Wasserman a lot. The surest way to lose a race is to have no idea where the finish line is. The second way to lose that race is having no idea what the directions are to get there. And so to me, that's what we're focusing on this year. Normal is that's our North Star. That's who we are. This is what we do. This is what we believe in. That's where we're headed. And here's the path to get there. Now go run the best race you can run. And that's what I was laser focused on. And all the other hits that come, and they all come, like that's just life. That's, learning how to control the chaos. And quickest way to do that is just run your race. Just know who you are, know where you're going, know how to get there and run your race.
I love it. I call it my true north.
Yeah.
Of like my why, my purpose, and my legacy, right?
Yeah.
And having that as a human being and then translating that into the world of business, which is why I love my job because it all aligns. So what are you unlearning?
Unlearning adding 18 self-inflicted wounds to my plate in 1 year. In fairness, it's actually now that you're past it, you're like, I'm glad I got it all done at once because we could actually start fresh this year and have that year of normal and not easy, nothing's ever easy, but normal and predictable like that.
Yeah.
That I'm glad that we have that. I'd rather not be doing this like death by paper cuts, like a little bit of change every year. But while you're in it, like the number of times, like, we looked at each other like, what are we doing? There's a guy on my team who's been with me for over 20 years, Will Pleasance. He was amazing. And he runs our US business for us. And he looked at me, he's so deadpan. He looked at me one day, he's like, everybody got a plan until you get punched in the face. And that's like Mike Tyson, Mike Tyson quote of all.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a plan until you get
punched in the face.
So let's dive into ourselves.
Let's dive into the part 2, the collective economy
Yes.
and fandom,
Yes.
and talking about her fandom, her buying power.
Wow.
What surprised you in doing this? Like, the insights that really made you rethink the approach to everything?
So we've done, oh gosh, they're all available on wearethecollective.com. Go look at it. We believe in all boats rise when you support women's sports. So we make these research reports available free of charge to anyone who wants them. Go learn about the power of this economy and this consumer. I am surprised every day by women. It's such a great way. I'm surprised every day by their power. I'm surprised every day by their resilience, which is really interesting. I know you and I talked earlier this year about, this one stat. People ask me all the time about why women athletes are, I don't know, 5, 6 times better in engagement on their social media platforms than their male counterparts. And my answer is because they have to be good at it or they don't eat. Because
Yeah.
this is the truth, because they make close to 85% of their income off the playing field, only about, you know, 15 on the playing field. And so if they want to eat, if they want to feed their families, then they have to build their brands and engage their audiences. And they're very, very good at it. As a result, hire a female athlete, she'll get the job done. Hire a woman to do
Yeah.
anything, she'll get the job done, but details. And the men are exactly the almost exactly, not quite fully 85%, but opposite of that. So I look at that and I think that's ingenuity and that's resilience and that's perseverance. That's like, I'm going to do
Mhm.
what I love, but I'm going to figure out how to feed my family at the same time. And I'm very, very impressed by that. Part of the study we talked about, we did most recently, we did a study about the buying power of the female consumers, the female sports fan. And I want to be really clear. We talked about female sports fans and people treat it like it's an 8th grade prom that girls are on one side and guys on the other. That we're just talking when we talk about the female sports fan, we're talking about female fans of women's sports. No, we're talking about women who are fans of both men and women's sports.
Yes.
This is a broad, powerful
Mhm.
consumer base. I learned we did this most recent study, I think, in 10 countries worldwide, which was really interesting, an original study in all these different countries, and I noticed so much similarity between women around the world. The sort of
Yeah.
similarity, solidarity, and how they looked at their purchasing power, and some of these were emerging markets that we went into, where you wouldn't have expected quite as profound of a reaction from the respondents, but we got it. So I was really impressed with that. I was surprised, I think, women fans will tell you exactly what they want.
Oh, yeah.
I am surprised by how many people still don't listen to them.
Yeah.
And then even more surprised by how surprised those people are when the women fans don't reward them with additional purchases. "Well, why didn't she buy that?" I'm like, "Well, maybe because she told you she didn't wanna buy it in that way." Maybe to I don't know, listened, then maybe we would be selling some more T-shirts. So it's interesting to me to look at that dichotomy of how, like, entrenched norms are in our industry. Like, we're an industry built on tradition, I believe. I'm a sports purist, don't mess with the game. Like, I get all that, but you gotta talk to the audiences around the game in the way that they wanna be talked to, and some of that came out in the study, which I thought was really interesting.
I read the study and I remember it talked about how mothers shape the next generation. Like 49% of moms played sports when they were
Right.
young. 91% of women's fans are mothers who report
Yes.
being involved.
Yeah.
And then it shows you that like mothers are not just consumers, but they
Or the
also
original
can
the OG influencer.
exactly. So expand on like how that
Yeah.
is not really taken into consideration when we're
Yeah.
talking about the consumers.
Well, and you also the other stat that was right behind that, if you read it, was 91% are mothers, but they're not just mothers, and they don't wanna be spoken to as they're just mothers. They are don't get me wrong, I love being a mom, we
Mhm,
nerd out about our
mhm.
kids every time we talk, but, they they wanna be realized as the three-dimensional human being that they are, right? That
Mhm.
they are mothers and they are fans in their own right. They're not just a steward of someone else's fandom. And
Yeah.
so when people say, "Oh, 91% of mothers," so I'm gonna talk to women about how to get their sons and daughters, mainly sons, how to get their sons and daughters into sports, how to make sure we get, youth tickets for them, how to make sure you buy them stuff, kit for Christmas, like, as if your only role in life is to be a steward of someone else's fandom.
Yeah.
And so they don't like that. And so they wanna go back upstream a little bit and say, "Recognize me as a fan." Like, it's funny, like, you don't see people talking about, like, dad you always hear this concept of dads passing on to their sons fandom of a team,
Yeah.
but
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
never hear them also being treated as if they weren't fans themselves. That your
Yeah.
job is to make sure your son is a fan of the Giants. Like, that's it, that's your only job.
Yeah.
They do that to mothers, they don't do that to fathers. And so you need to start looking at the individual and their role in influencing their family, their husbands, their children, their friends, like, that it's passion, and these women consumers are so incredibly comfortable expressing that passion. They'll express it
Mhm.
to anybody who listens,
Yeah.
and so recognize that, but don't trade one for the other.
It's so interesting because I think this is how times have changed. Because my daughter, she will, through me, I am sure, be a Portland Fire and Portland Thorns. Like, she wants to play both sports because and I didn't even
Of
know,
course she can.
I
I've
just
met your
wanted to
daughter.
influence her, right?
I've met her.
But
Pretty sure she can do it.
but on the flip side, there's 51% of women globally who are not mothers,
Yeah,
and we need to find the balance of how to speak to
yeah.
them as well. Do you wanna expand on that?
100%, especially upcoming Gen Z women. The thing that's so powerful, and I say this, the Gen Z female consumer, ignore her at your own peril.
Mhm.
Because they are you wanna talk about fans who tell you how to speak to them, they are punitive if you don't get them.
Yeah.
They will make sure you suffer and your children's children. Like, they will not only not be a fan of your sport, they will tell everybody else not to be a fan of your sport. They will make sure their children, when they have them one day, will never be a fan of your sport. Like, they'll take it down. And so, and I love that. I love that empowerment of saying, "This is who I am, and this is what I want, and this is how I demand to be treated as a consumer." And, oh, by the way, we're actually controlling well over 85% of the wallet and the purchasing decisions, not only for me right now as a young Gen Z woman, but my family, and that's just projected to grow. And so, that's what I mean by fine. It's not really a good business strategy to ignore someone who controls all the money, but maybe that's just me.
The generations are interesting because you talk about Gen Z, more engaged,
Mhm.
but they have higher expectations. Millennials, most active fans. Boomers and Gen Z, they're overlooked and feel unseen and unvalued.
Yeah.
What are we learning across all of this that can help us to not continue to write the same playbook?
It's actually, I think, something that even expands beyond sports. And we talk to our brand clients and our CMOs about this all the time in any program we do sports, music, culture, or creative campaign, and cause marketing initiative, whatever it is. The number one thing I get them to understand straight out of the jump is you are not your target demographic. Right? You gotta first understand this. You can't just invest in what you like. You have to invest in what the people who buy your product or your service like.
Mhm.
And the reason I know you are not your target demographic is because the target demographic of anything these days is varied and diverse and distributed and all I mean, like, they're just too big and too complex and too distributed and too diverse and varied to be one person. And so stop treating your fan base like it's a block. Like, and understand whether that's a fan base of a sporting event or a fan base of a product. Understand who your consumers are, why they buy, and go to them. Don't expect them to have to work hard to come to you. That's actually one of the most interesting things about women's sports is we still make it very, very, very hard for the fan to, like, buy. They have to
Yeah.
figure out where the games are playing. They have to figure out, who else is going. There's not this ecosystem like it is in men's sports built around it to make your fandom easy for you. You have to work at it. And that was actually one of our studies. One of the most interesting things that I learned is the number one problem in WNBA fans is what they call, being an ISO fan. They feel isolated. Like, I'm a uber
Yeah.
fan. I don't know who else is a fan. I don't know how to find other fans. I don't know who to get to go with me to, like, enjoy this fandom and express this passion. Like, they feel isolated. And if you just connect them, the bounty's open to you, and they're grateful. They're very grateful.
That's the sense of community that you built on the collective, right? And that's the sense of community that we're continuing to build. You talked about like one of your greatest failures
Yeah.
was the first one and I love the story, but it also probably has led you to why you're able to break cultural barriers in your deals. Can you give our listeners the idea of like, how do we break through with the big companies? Because right here in Portland, we had the world's biggest baby shower,
Mhm.
and we partnered with Bobby, and we got over 9 million impressions. Then we went ahead and we have partners like Alaska Airlines, where
Yeah.
we're kind of talking to our fans. We wrote a love letter to Portland. They're doing it differently. But how do we convince brands to be the first when they sit on the fence?
Well, a lot of it is right storytelling. It's telling them the story they wanna hear, but first you gotta listen to them to understand which book they
Mhm.
read. Like, it's, uh, so interesting to me that we have a tendency in sports to treat the deals that we do as off the shelf. And,
Mm.
like, I got asked to speak once to a major league's, team marketing meeting. So all the 32 teams came in, and I got asked to speak. And I have about 250 people on my team who actually interacted with that league. And so I surveyed them before I left to just get a general sense of how they felt about working with this league so I can go in and talk to these teams. And one of the questions was, have you ever gotten a proposal for one of your brands from a team that listed another brand's name in the proposal, like literally lift and shift? And the answer was yes. It was overwhelmingly yes, 68%. 68% of those 200 and some people had that happen to them. And then I said, okay, have you ever had it happen more than once? And the number didn't drop that much. And
Wow.
and so it becomes this sort of lift and shift. Like, I used to when I was on the brand side, we sold our product was multi-million dollar, telephone switching networks. Like,
Yeah.
this is a big this is you're not going in and buying a, Gatorade off the shelf. And if I ever got a proposal when I was reviewing inbound proposals, when I got a proposal that mentioned how we could use their marks and logos at point of sale,
Mhm.
I threw the proposal away because it means you didn't spend any time learning who I was. We don't sell multi-million dollar switching equipment at Kmart, like,
Mhm.
which I just dated myself with that reference, but you get it. Uh, you get it. The, so I you have to know, like, we talk about 2 halves of our business, right? We talk about the what if and the how to. Like,
Yeah.
we have a lot of how-to people in sports. We know how to put on a game. We know how to sell a t-shirt. We know how to construct a deal, how to manage a partner. Where I think we struggle a little bit is the what ifs. And so some of the bigger deals that we've done at Wasserman that I'm proud of the team for are the ones where we were like, yeah, 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 throw out the playbook. Don't pay attention to the proposal they submitted. Sit in a room and just say, what if? What if
Mm.
we brought together all of these people in this different way? What if I gave back all my signage for that deal because I don't need it? I need this instead. What if I, said I don't want to put a logo in a stadium. I want to put a product on the sidelines to actively be used in the game, which is something we did. Yeah,
Yeah.
breakfast on the sidelines. So when I remember we did the very, very first deal with the United States Golf Association that has ever been done. They used to not have sponsors. And instead of just going, oh, well, you can't be a sponsor of the US Open, we're like, well, what if you can? Let's
Mhm.
figure out how. And the
Right.
process of convincing them took a decade, but we got it done. And so I think that's what you have to do is you have to find those what if moments, because if you can find the right what if, the how to takes care of itself. But the what if is what inspires.
It has you talk about the what if, but you have to have people in the room who are yes ands rather than the no
Yeah.
buts, because you just get stuck,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's so important to be surrounded by people who think the same, who wanna do the same groundbreaking things, which leads me to my next question. Portland, right now, we're the global epicenter of women's sports, right? You were at that summit,
Ugh,
earlier in July, and I think you enjoyed it
I
because
had so much
you were
fun.
there from the beginning. I was like, "Where's Elizabeth?" And you're like, "I'm right here listening."
I was in the
What
audience, girl. You interrupted me listening to a panel.
what was your takeaways from that? Because I wanna think, like, strategically too with you because obviously we're the only ownership group to have both a women's basketball team from the WNBA
Yeah.
and a soccer team with the NWSL Portland Thorns and the Fire. We're building trying to do things differently. Brands seem to be very intrigued by the ability to almost have 2 options at what would you say you took away from that
Yeah.
that was interesting to you, but then also like what we're building here, why what can we do? Because you talk about the North Star, the I call it True North. But what were your thoughts on all of that?
Well, look, the thing that came out the most to me, first of all, you can assemble a room like nobody's business. I was on stage with the great, the GOAT, Don Staley. I could barely get words out of my mouth. You know how to assemble a room, so well done you. What I would also say is your ownership group is really invested and passionate, and and not for the wrong reasons. This isn't just a bottom line and a financial thing for them. I'm sure everybody likes to make money, but you know, you talk about your love letter to Portland, and I felt like in talking to some of your owners, I felt like they stood there with a pen in their hand, writing the love letter, right? Like they felt it. And you can't hide that level of genuine feeling. Like that's just impossible. So I give them credit for that. I also believe like the willingness to look at things differently. We are going to do things differently. We aren't going to follow the playbook. We're going to own two teams, which you know in and of itself is a little crazy. We're gonna, you know, look at. I spent a long time talking to somebody in your leadership team about, you know, one of the things we're working on at the collective is I think one of the issues is kind of goes to your previous question too. One of the issues is that we insist upon evaluating women's sports against the same metrics of men's sports.
Yeah.
And so it's all eyeballs. It's all like, well, reach and eyeballs, and they don't get as many viewers. And I'm like, I actually don't care if there are fewer viewers, if the higher percentage of them are engaging and acting and buying my sponsors' products and all that, which women's sports bears out every time. Every time you look at the data, it's not an awareness thing, it's an avidity thing. And you know, eyeballs on your product is awesome. Hands in the wallets of the people watching your product and spending is better. And so you know, one of the things we're working on is how to redo those metrics so we can give women the equal playing field, women's sports that they deserve to be able to tell the right story and being open to that and understanding that and willing to look at the data. I think a lot of times in women's sports, people have a tendency to just say it's the right thing to do. And
Yeah.
trust me, it is. It's the right thing to do. But you can do good and do really good business at the same damn time.
Yeah.
And understanding the audience and the metrics and being willing to look at them differently and market it differently and sell it differently and even own it differently. That was the biggest takeaway I took. You're lucky.
I'm lucky, I'm blessed, and I don't want to keep you longer. So quick rapid fire. Describe your leadership style in one word.
Open.
Ooh. Who inspires you most right now and why?
My son.
Ooh. Wow, I love it. Why?
I see great, you know, maybe cry on a podcast. Damn. I see great promise in the next generation. There is a clarity to how they look at things. There is an ownership of the problems of the world as much as the opportunities in the world. And there's a profound desire to engage and fix it. And that gives me hope. And we all could use a little hope.
Oh, so beautiful and personal. If you could have dinner with three people, dead or alive, who would they be?
Oh, Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yes.
I got some questions for her. Dolly Parton and Gloria Steinem.
Ooh, those are three great ones. Describe your sense of humor in one word.
It's 2 words. It's a lot of words. It gets me in trouble every now and then. If you're not laughing,
Say
you're
it.
crying. If you're not laughing, you're crying. That's all I say.
What's on your bucket list that has nothing to do with sports?
Oh, I wanna go to the Oscars.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun. That's on my bucket list. Actually, the guy I'm
If you
eating
could
for breakfast with right now is the guy who I'm gonna beg to meet me.
Okay. Tell him I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm gonna what if you could sit in a meeting or a moment in sports history, which would it be?
Billie Jean King, September 1973, when she sat and convinced the 8 of them to hold their dollar bills in the air and say, "This is how we're gonna do women's tennis from now on out." I think you can draw a straight line to all the accomplishment that women have made in sport back to that date.
You know what's crazy? Sometimes you don't want to meet your heroes or your sheroes. I met Billie Jean
Right.
King and unbelievable. Like I met her and then we had breakfast together. Like, we spent time together. And it was like one of these conversations where I'm sitting there being like, is this my real life? And she just preaches. She makes your soul feel alive like you do. I want to thank you. My last thing is your call to action for the people listening, whether athletes, executives, fans, brands. What is your call to action to everybody?
Educate yourself.
Mm.
Educate yourself. I mean, lesson learned for life these days, but educate yourself about the power of this audience, about women in sports. Educate yourself about, and when I say women in sports, I don't just mean fans. I mean fans and the athletes and the executives running your businesses and your consumers and women. Educate yourself about this group of people because so much of your life depends on it. And realize the platform. We talk about the moment in women's sports right now. It is not a moment. It is not even a moment, a movement, as people are fond of saying lately. It is a platform. It's here to stay, and it is an opportunity for you to grow your businesses.
I love you. Thank you for showing up today. I'm sorry I made you late. Thank you.
You messed up my Oscar invite. We're gonna have some.
No. Okay. Okay. All right. I'll help you. I'll help you if it doesn't work out.
Thank you for all you do.
All right.
Here.
Thank you. Bye. What a conversation with Elizabeth Lindsey. Like, not only is she insightful in women's sports, but in leadership, using data, her passion, and just her knowledge. I mean, I took away so many things. One of it is just our fan base, the collective and the fandom work that they're doing, that like the fans are telling us what to do, but we're just not listening. Wow, Gen Z, let's pay attention to them. Like, and then there's the leadership takeaways of like owning your mistakes. She talked about the fact of like sometimes when you sit back and reflect and you own them, you actually can accomplish so much more. Letting go of expectations. You know, she said that's when she really started to live her life of not having the expectations of the salary, the job, the title, but just being who you are. The collective. Thank you, the collective, the fandom, the work that they're doing through that. So important. The finding the what ifs, like start thinking differently and what ifs instead of what wasn't. And then most importantly, the North Star, or the true north, as I call it. Like, live your life going after the North Star, who you are, what you want, and staying true to that in chaos. I mean, my call to action to you is live your true north, live your North Star. Start thinking of the what ifs, but most importantly, let's change this world and the perception of women's sports together. Keep tuning into our podcast, the Epicenter Women's Sports. As we're coming to season 1 ending, let us know who you want to hear from. Let us know what you want us to do differently, but also what you love. We also like to hear the good comments. But keep tuning in and following us.